Greetings, fine citizens of Rippletopia. First things first, because I forget every time I do a video. Number one thing I want to remind you of is if you're currently holding your XRP on an exchange, couple things about that. One main thing about it, apparently when you hold your crypto on an exchange, technically the exchange owns it and you don't. That doesn't seem like a good situation as far as I'm concerned. The other thing is, if the exchange gets hacked, they could have access to your cryptocurrency address, your XRP in particular that you're holding. You might find that it's gone one morning. I use a Ledger Nano S. A whole lot of people in the community use a Ledger Nano S. You can find it by clicking the link for the Ledger Nano S in the description. Full disclosure, which I say every single time, if you click the link as is and you go out there to buy one, I get $10 for you having bought one because I'm the one who led you there. I'm an affiliate with Ledger. If you don't want me to make $10 off of it, but you still want one, that is fine with me. Take the affiliate code off of the end of the address and go shop that way instead. I don't know if anybody has chosen that option yet, because I have, there's been a number of people that have bought them because of my site. Every once in a while, I like to remind people because it's the safest way to store your crypto that I know of. If anybody else knows of a better way, please let me know and I'll start advertising that instead. So that's the first thing. Second thing, a few weeks ago, somebody on Twitter, sleone, L-E-O-N-E _76, sleone _76 on Twitter, said that he wanted to send me some stickers, some XRP related and Ripple related stickers. So I thought, oh, that sounds cool. I mean, so he said he didn't want anything for them. He liked my channel, wanted to send me some of these things. So he did. Today I received a package which was way beyond anything I expected. Some of these stickers that I received in there, in Schwartz we believe, in Brad we trust stickers, which are awesome. Then I'm going to save the really good ones for the end. They're all really good. Got some of these XRP stickers in gray, blue, and black. Got some of these shiny foil stickers, which are awfully cool. He just sent them to me. I'm guessing he's a printer, designer, something, and he probably sells this merchandise. Please check him out on Twitter, sleone, L-E-O-N-E _76. Here's the other ones that he sent me that were a total surprise to me. I wonder if he knows that my favorite color is orange. So this is in orange and black, and it says, "Greetings, good citizens of Rippletopia," with my ugly mug on the front. Got that one in orange, got that one in blue. How stinking cool is that? How stinking cool is the XRP community? These are the kind of people that are involved with XRP. I don't think this happens in any other community of cryptocurrencies aficionados. So there's that. Now into the content. And it's some content, quite honestly, I don't even want to get into. This is a video I don't want to make. And I'm going to have to sort it out as I go. Specifically because I don't want to make it. And so I didn't want to think about it very much. I thought I'm just going to let my thoughts be what they are. I started talking myself through the video earlier today, and I shut myself down and I said, nope, just save it for the video. So we'll see what comes out with it. First of all, what I'm about to say is likely to offend some people. Offend people in 2018? You can't do that. Sorry. I'm not one of those people who goes around scared of offending everybody. If you're offended, I'm sorry. I mean, to whatever degree that means something, I'm sorry. But here's what you might do. Think about what it means when you're offended. Oftentimes when we're offended, it means it's hitting a nerve somewhere in us. Oftentimes, most of the time, it's hitting a nerve in some area of ourselves that we don't like, or we're not sure that we're completely secure in our beliefs. So, for example, I'll tell you an example from my own life. I'm going to do a decent amount of that in today's video. It's going to be a more personal video than I've made up to this point. So, the other day, on my comment section, somebody said in my comments, a viewer who said at the beginning, I like your videos, but I have a question for you. If you're so smart, why are you working in the trades? It was something to that effect. If you're so smart, why are you working? He said, why are you a craftsman, or why are you a crafter? His language, first language is not English, so I understood what he meant to say. He was saying, basically, why are you a blue-collar worker if you're so smart? Don't know if anybody on here saw my response, but I took it down about 3 days later because I ripped him a new a-hole for saying that to me. I was so offended by that comment. And, I mean, my response was like that long. And I went through every logical fallacy contained in that ridiculous comment as I saw it. There's problems of all sorts with it. The assumption that somebody who's blue collar can't be smart. The assumption that I'm blue collar because I drive around in a truck when I actually own the company. But who cares that I own the company? Dumb people can own companies. Dumb people can be blue collar. Conversely, smart people can own companies. Smart people can be blue collar. A whole bunch of other fallacies going into that. Problems with hierarchies, obviously, in his mind about the setup of society and who's at the top and who's at the bottom. I just ripped him all over the place. I'm not saying I'm proud of it. Be careful. I'm not proud of it. So I sat with that for 3 days and kept thinking about what I had done. And 3 days later, I took it down and I wrote him an apology. Because I was wrong to have ripped him in the way that I did. Was I wrong on the logical aspect of it? I don't think I was. I think I told it as it really is when you apply reason and logic to what he said. But did I say it in a way with intent to hurt him? Absolutely I did. I wanted to make him feel like the biggest moron on the planet when I was done. And that's not right to do. Doesn't matter who you're responding to, it's not right to do. So I took it down and apologized. So that got me thinking about all the ways that a nerve can be hit in us. And I might hit a nerve with some of you with what I'm about to say. I would ask you to do no different than I ask of myself, and take a step back if a nerve is hit within you, and consider that maybe there's an insecure part of you that doesn't like someone poking at that part of you because you're not entirely sure of yourself there. Why did I freak out like I did? Half of it was logic-based, and the other half of it was because I was called stupid all childhood long. It was a regular thing to be told how dumb I am, how stupid I am, how I'm a moron, how I'm a, whatever. That's a trigger point for me. So if anybody wants to get to me, see DM Logic freak out, call me stupid. It'll do it. I'll freak out. And I'll do whatever's in my power at the time to intellectually bury you and make you feel like the biggest idiot in the world. That's how I freak out, apparently, when those nerves are hit. Not proud of that at all. Something I need to work on. I'm asking you, when I say what I'm about to say, to consider it intellectually. To consider that I might have a point, okay? Be willing to take a step back and assess the situation. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to try to say it also as nicely as I possibly can and as temperately. Is temperately a word? With as much temperance as possible. So, the short of it is, I'm not into connecting the dots and coming up with a conclusion that I grab onto 100% and run with at full speed in some particular direction. I don't believe in doing that. I find myself at times tempted in doing it. And in recent days in the crypto community, particularly in regard to Ripple and XRP, I'm seeing a lot of people who are doing just that. They are connecting disparate dots, disparate pieces of information from all over, where they have a cursory understanding of each dot. Maybe it's a news story over here, a video someone made over here, a release from Ripple over here, a news release or a PR release from Ripple, something somebody had to say about it over here. SBI came out with a tweet over here, and they're connecting all of these dots, and they're not connecting the dots and saying, this is really, really interesting. Gosh, I don't know what to make of this thing. I see all these disparate dots everywhere, and they all seem to like add up to something. But I don't know what it adds up to. What do you guys think it adds up to? I'm just not sure. I'm hesitant. I don't want to, start claiming that something is true that might not be true. That's not what I've been seeing. I've been seeing people put together the dots and then claim that it is a 100% factual certainty that those dots add up to something. And they know what it is, and they're going to tell everybody. And a bunch of people believe it now because a video was made about it, a tweet or a series of tweets were put out about this thing. And now people are believing this. Do I think there's anything wrong whatsoever with connecting dots that are out there? Nope, not a bit. But I think it's important to have epistemic awareness. Epistemic awareness meaning, how much knowledge do you really have? Do you have the full knowledge of what you're claiming you know 100%? In my mind, that answer is always no. Unless you were in all of those meetings with SBI, meetings at the Federal Reserve, plus meetings at the World Banks, meetings at the IMF, meetings in high-ranking government, in government, the United States government, the British government, the German government. Unless you were in every single one of these meetings and you were there firsthand, delivering a firsthand account of every single dot you're putting together, it's impossible to have 100% awareness or truth of what those dots connected all mean. And it's very easy to want to connect a bunch of dots to reach an end result that you would really like to have happen. It's really easy to do that, and it's really easy to make the leap into doing that. I want to tell you a little bit of my personal experience as to why I'm hesitant to do that, why I'm not going to be doing that with Ripple and XRP. Even if I put out a video like I did in my last video. In that video, the whole point was simply something else is going on behind the scenes that we don't fully know about. The government is clearly interested in XRP. Governments around the world, in fact, are very clearly interested in Ripple's technology and XRP being used. Okay? All of that is true. But I didn't connect any dots and say, therefore, absolutely this is happening. Therefore, absolutely 589 by the end of the year. I simply put out the information, and I'm interested in following up and finding out more about it. I actually received a tweet, or no, it was a personal message on Twitter from somebody else who also must be connected in some way to the financial realm, because they asked me if I wanted more information on those on that information I shared the other day. The other day, all I could do was share that one-page information that I shared. And I know that Ripple was mentioned a ton of times in that full stack of slides, or in that full report. I know Ripple was mentioned a bunch of times. Somebody wrote to me and asked if I want to know what else was in it. I absolutely do want to know what else was in it, but I haven't had the time yet to connect with that person and find out what they're talking about. So nevertheless, I'm not going to be connecting all those dots and then presenting to you a 100% a narrative that I hold on to with 100% surety, telling you this is absolutely then what it means for this fall or this winter or for next year. That is not me, and it's not going to happen. And I strongly caution you against believing that when you hear it from anybody else, without doing a ton of your own study. And if you do all of that study and you still weren't in all those meetings where all the decisions took place so that you can give a first-hand account, then please hold on very loosely to that theory. I was going to tell you from my personal experience, why DM Logic? Why are you like this? Why must you crap on our parade all the time? Why, the second somebody comes out with good news and they connect all the dots for us, why the heck do you have to come along and ruin it for me all the time? Because believe me, that's exactly what I hear in the comments constantly. Two parts to that. One, I was born a contrarian. I'm sorry. It's the way God made me. I'm of a contrarian mindset. And when everybody, mostly everybody, is running one direction, I get really interested in the other direction. I've done it my whole life. Part two to that. And this is where it gets a little personal and a little challenging to me. I grew up in a Christian home, okay? Catholic until I was 8, Protestant Christian after that. Went to a Christian school, went to Bible college, planned on becoming a pastor, did things like lead music in churches for years, and, led youth groups, did all these things. So I'm very familiar with the whole, born-again Christian realm. That's the realm I grew up in. For a whole lot of reasons, the way that I used to practice that Christianity is very different in my past, than it is presently. And I would say that I have sort of whittled down, using logic and reason, I've whittled down what I know and what I don't know for sure. And it's changed my faith a good bit. So that's interesting, but it's for another time. But part of my experience growing up this way, was the experience of seeing numerous times people trying to connect the dots in the Bible. And numerous times people coming up with dates that they knew were the dates of Jesus' return. So, I don't remember this one because I was young, but I was 4 years old at the time. But in 1974, Christians worldwide, or at least in the United States, had a very strong belief that Jesus was coming back that year. They had all sorts of dates for it. They connected all of the dots, and it was a done deal based on scripture, based on what somebody had to say, based on the occurrences in the world. It was a done deal. It didn't happen. 1988, I remember extremely well. It was the year I graduated from high school. 1988, Jesus was coming back. It was 40 years from the time that Israel had become a nation again in 1948. Scripture had all of the evidence in it in the New Testament. All the dots were connected. Everybody was talking about it. It was going to happen during Rosh Hashanah in September. It didn't happen. Somebody had written a book about it. Lots of people believed it. It still didn't happen. Oh, he made a mistake. He missed one very important piece of information. He came out with a new book. It's actually 1989 that it's going to happen, not 1988. Hey, it's going to happen in 1989. Everyone's very excited it's going to happen during Rosh Hashanah in September. It didn't happen. 1990, Steve Taylor, a Christian artist, really popular back in the 80s, came out with an album, I believe, in 1989 called I Predict 1990. It was mocking the idea that everybody had a prediction for when Christ was coming back and how it kept not happening. Leave aside the religious thing for a little bit. Skip ahead a number of years. The financial crisis in 2008. I started studying global economics in about 2007. And I was in the middle of learning how to invest. I was studying the stock market. I had a practice account that I was trading on. And actually, I might have had a real live account at the time on E-Trade or something like that before I knew how dumb that was to spend $5 a trade when you don't know what you're doing and you don't have a bunch of money in it. So I started studying global economics. I got turned on to global economics by a guy named Peter Schiff. And Peter Schiff to this day I think is brilliant. And I think Peter Schiff to this day I think is technically right about most of what he talks about. But he's been calling for a crash in the economy since 2009. Well, to be fair to him, he called the 2008 crash. He saw that coming. Then he said, well, there's another one coming that's far worse. On the technicals of that call, I believe he's correct. I believe our monetary system is a house of cards, and there's no way that house of cards does not collapse at some point, because it's a house of cards built on a skinny foundation, building outward and outward and outward and outward. So a skinny foundation building outward and outward and outward with cards. There's no way in the world it doesn't at some point collapse, okay? It's a Ponzi scheme. We pay back our debt with inflation. We've been doing it for years and years and years. It's the whole reason they came off the gold standard. And if you talk about even before that, read the book The Creature from Jekyll Island that talks about the early progressives and the people that were powerful in government and banking institutions back in the 1910 through 1920 time period, who designed the current monetary system to keep extremely wealthy people wealthy and to keep poor people poor, and middle class people mostly middle class, except for if they happen to work their rear ends off and somehow get lucky and get to the top. It's a system that's been around for a long time, okay? So anyway, I believe that system is bound to fail. There's no way that system is not bound to fail. Ultimately, it has to crash, yes. But I believed wholeheartedly that it was going to crash starting in about 2009, 2010 time period. I started a YouTube channel at some point called Crash Guy. Actually, I didn't start that until 2015. Before that, I had a store online called Pharaoh's Dream. The people who know Scripture that view this will understand Pharaoh's Dream happened back when Joseph was imprisoned, and the Pharaoh had a dream. And I won't get into the story, but the whole point of it was that hard times were coming, that there was going to be a crash in terms of agriculture at the time. Ultimately, it was agriculture, which meant people would not be able to eat for a number of years. And so that's why my store was called Pharaoh's Dream. I had that store. I got really into global economics. I was studying the whole thing then. Sometime in 2013-14 time period, there was a Christian guy, a pastor, who came out with a book called The Mystery of the Shemitah. I knew of the Shemitah, okay, because I was a Bible college student, so I was well aware of the Shemitah. So a Shemitah year is every 7th year where there's a rest period economically in Israel. And the idea was that you work just like the days, that you work for 6 days, you rest for 1. Work for 6 days, rest for 1. The Shemitah years were the same idea. You plow the fields, you work the fields, you work your cattle and your livestock and your poultry. You do all of that stuff for 6 years. And then you sort of take a break. You really take a break in terms of farming. You don't farm the field in the 7th year. And then every 50th year was a Jubilee year, where not only did you take a rest, but all debts were forgiven everywhere. It was a reset point for all debts being forgiven. Well, The Mystery of the Shemitah, this book by, his name is Cohen, I think. I can't believe I can't even remember his name because I was really into him for a while. Just the idea. Anyway, the 50th year, the Jubilee year, all debts are forgiven. It's like a stop in commerce. It's a stop in the financial system in the country. And so his book was saying, we are headed for a stop here. He believed that every 7 years there was a reset in the market, in his opinion, designed by God, and that we were about to reach a super Shemitah, or a Jubilee year, where the financial system was going to crash in 2015, and we were going to have a reset of our economic system. You talk about connecting dots. This guy connected more dots than I've ever seen be connected, ever. Never seen so many dots connected. Never seen so many stinking, fascinating things that happened in the culture that made it really obvious that he must be onto something. Something supernatural was happening out there, and he tapped into it, and he was unveiling it for everybody in this book, The Mystery of the Shemitah. I fully expected in September of 2015 for there to be a major stock market crash and a reset of the financial system. The dollar going bust. A new currency coming along to replace the dollar. I've been spending a lot of time on this. Let me cut to the chase. There's nothing new under the sun. You can hate the Bible. You can hate, the Old Testament, New Testament. You can hate both. You can hate Christianity. You can think it's all complete bollocks, and that's all fine. That's your business. Nobody else's business but yours. I encourage you, though, to read the book of 2 Song of Solomon. Not Song of Solomon. That's a really dirty book you should read. But the book of Ecclesiastes you should read. Book of Ecclesiastes has a lot of wisdom. One of the main repeating phrases in it is that there's nothing new under the sun. In regard to connecting the dots all over the place, getting people very worked up about what has to be, because I connected all these dots and all these people over here say it, and oh my God, someone made a video over here, and SBI just tweeted something and Ripple tweeted something else. I've connected the dots for you. Now you know what's coming, and it's coming in 3 months. There's nothing new under the sun. One of these times, will someone be correct? I suppose at some point somebody will. But you can look back to a whole ton of predictions on this stuff, and I've never known one of them yet to be correct. I've been paying attention closely to this stuff for 35 years, and nothing has come true yet. Doesn't mean this one won't, but I would at least take a step back, relax a little bit, and be a little bit judgmental of your judgment and of your emotional state and how much you want this thing to be true, and so therefore it must be true. I would question that a little bit more if I were you. I love the connecting the dots stuff when people's ultimate conclusion is, I don't know, a whole bunch of dots here. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Those are all great perspectives. But the idea of nailing it down, and now I know that it's this, I'm just not into it. It's why I blocked the Ripple Riddler on Twitter. Just wasn't interested. I'm interested in the conversation about reality, but I'm not interested in conversation about wild speculation. Galgatron on Twitter recently said something really brilliant, and I wish I had it here to read it to you directly, but the paraphrase is, people get believing so much in this connecting the dots kind of stuff in regard to XRP and Ripple that it actually becomes sort of a religious pursuit at some point. And their conclusions become sort of faith-based conclusions that they are 100% wholly sold out on. The only thing I'm 100% wholly sold out on are not faith-based conclusions. Sorry if that offends any Christians. But for me, I can only be 100% sure of what I'm holding in my hand and looking at myself. I can have faith still, because faith does not require that I've reached a 100% conclusion. That's why it's called faith. Anyway, a whole lot of conversation could be had about this topic. I suppose I will hear about it in the comments. I suppose some people are going to rip me a new one, like I did to that guy who asked if I'm so smart. Why am I blue collar? Here's the other thing that really bothered me about that. I never said I was smart. And here's the other thing that bothered me about it. Information and logic exists on its own. If somebody that has an IQ of 80 states truth, is it any less truth than someone who has an IQ over 140? No. It's the exact same truth. Whole bunch of things bothered me about it, but oh well. I'm going to leave it there. I was going to get into some price action and bottlenecking and encouragements to both keep your your cryptocurrency off of the exchanges, and to not be selling them and buying back in, selling them, buying back in. because you actually hurt the price by doing that. Don't know if you understand why, but I'll save that for a different video. In the meantime, I'm going to give you an encouragement I haven't given for a while. That is, if you haven't done it recently, step away from your phone, your computer. Make sure you go spend quality time with people you love, doing things that really matter. Ultimately, in this life, it's a real mystery at times what it's all about. I can at least be sure that it's in large part, about that right there. So I encourage you to do it. We will talk to you soon.